What's going on, everybody? LK here, and today we're actually going to talk about Project L a little bit. So specifically ways that Project L can really make a ruckus, let's say, in fighting games. Because with Street Fighter 6 coming out, you might have noticed people are like really enjoying the game, really liking the game, but one of the main things that people really like about Street Fighter 6, how much of an actual video game it is. So, you know, in like '09, like the '09 games like Street Fighter 4 and Blaze Blue and Injustice, these are games that all have like full story modes, combo trials, arcade mode, and then also the new thing was online. Once we get to Street Fighter 5, so that generation of game is kind of a mixed bag. It's a lot of fighting games first time being like a live service type of game, and most of these games, not all of them, but most of the, let's say like half, right? In my head, it's like Street Fighter 5 and Dragon Ball. Those are like the big two in my head that kind of released with like not a lot of content. So you might not know this, but DBFZ has an insane amount of content actually in the game. While Dragon Ball FighterZ started off really bare bones, they added a ton of stuff to this game. So, for example, here, I'm offline, but there are modes here where you could do party modes, where you can give characters more options, or you can give all characters their assists, or you can make it so no characters can jump or air dash, and play kind of like a more traditional Street Fighter style like game. This guy over here in the practice section gives you a kind of like lame tutorial where it's like, this is how you auto combo stuff, but around the middle of the game's life, I want to say they added this during Season 2. They added this boot camp mode, which is the actual tutorial for the game. And they specifically, it's kind of like World Tour mode in Street Fighter. They are masters, so like Goku could be a master, or like Yamcha, but I mean, honestly, who would want Yamcha as their master, right? Android 18, Android 17, and these characters will teach you advanced techniques in the game. So things that like people have figured out through tournaments and players have figured out, they put this all in the game. There's also raid bosses. There's a ton of content they added. They didn't do a good job of just letting people know what was going on. So most of the ways you would find out what is in Dragon Ball is from content creators. Shouts like Rhymestyle and Dododoya and them. Like, one of the only reasons I knew there were raid bosses in Dragon Ball FighterZ was from their YouTube videos. Besides that, I had no idea they're adding any of this stuff. So while the games were getting visually better, and then while the balance, I mean, some people might argue with you that the balance was not perfect. Well, the balance was getting better over the years, and it didn't feel so random. It didn't feel like dartboard balancing anymore. Still the actual video game, so not the fighting. At this point, we are pretty comfortable with like the fighting being good. So really, it was just like, what are you getting from the game? In 2021, even though Guilty Gear didn't come out with a lot of stuff, like there was a story mode, there's a full mission mode, a pretty detailed mission mode, which I thought was pretty fun. Just the online being good was enough to make Guilty Gear stand out. But now, Street Fighter set the bar really high, but at the same time, like, is the bar high? Like, oh, there's just more stuff to do. Right, there's an RPG mode, there's an online lobby, and then there's like a queue, a fast working queue, and then also good netcode. And like, right now, people like, this is like one of the best fighting games ever made. But the line just was not set very high. To be a successful fighting game, I know there are Mortal Kombat people watching this like, we have this every time, brother. And of course, Mortal Kombat sells really well every main release, right? I'm expecting Mortal Kombat 1, which is coming out, I think, in September, to also be a pretty big release. Not from a tournament perspective, of course, they'll support the game, but also just like a lot of people buy Mortal Kombat. So what is Project L to do then? So the first thing that it's going to do, I think, that really kind of shakes things up is that it's going to be the first game that's made with PC in mind specifically. So what I mean is, right now, fighting games are basically made with like console in mind. They usually have like PC ports, but generally they're like, okay, we're making this on consoles, right? I've made a bunch of videos, for example, on Arxis games and like how they've evolved over the years with like frame data and delays and my ideas on that. In the past though, the games would always come out on arcade first, so they didn't really care, you know, they would just port it to console to get like some more sales or whatever. But starting from honestly around Street Fighter 5, like after Guilty Gear Xrd, like games like Street Fighter 5 and stuff, all the games are coming out on consoles first. And now in this current generation, there's no like arcade version of Dragon Ball FighterZ, for example. There is an arcade version of Guilty Gear Strive, but like one I heard is very laggy and not a lot of people play it. Right, it's kind of like a courtesy to people who are long-time arcade fans. But I can't say totally that there's been a release that is just like, this game is for PC and it's going to be a big release and we're pushing this. So that will be a big thing, because for a lot of like competitive people, they really just want the games to be as low delay and responsive as possible. Again, this is something I talked about in another video, how I feel about this, but you can understand that people wanting like just the games to be really fast and having like low latency and things like that. Making a game with PC in mind makes this really easy, as opposed to if you're making it for multiple platforms, then unless you do certain things, then the delay is going to be different on different platforms and it gets all weird and things like that. So I think that's actually a pretty big deal, because there's not really a game like that right now. People play fighting games on PC, but there's not one where like one of their things is this is a PC fighting game major release. The next way I think Project L can make a really big impact is with single player modes. So this is more of a result of things that have happened from like 2015 to like Strive with fighting games, where again, not counting some games like Mortal Kombat and stuff, there's just not a lot of single player content. So even having just some will be something that really makes it stand out. Again, Street Fighter has the World Tour mode. I think that's really good. But in the case of like Strive, which is like my main game, there's a couple of movies you can watch that are entertaining, but you're not like playing anything. So I think there's a couple of opportunities there. I heard there's like this new mode they're adding to League where it's like a 2v2 mode. So like I think modes like this add a lot to the game for people who don't want to sit and grind like ranked or grind like online. The third way is that we're assuming is right? So the game's gonna be free to play. So I've talked about before, but not for a while on this channel, about like the cycle of a fighting game's home version and like how they make money and like why things are kind of priced the way they are. So it's my expectation basically that most fighting games are like $60 and then they have like season passes that you run through. These days now, I think it's a little bit friendlier because they just patch the game and usually the patches are free, where in the past, like for example, for like I played BlazBlue, so we would have like BlazBlue Continuum Shift after the original BlazBlue. Then we would have like a big patch that was free, and then after that there was one more update where you had to buy like a new copy of the game for $40 again, and they would kind of loop that cycle a little bit. So having the game be free is obviously a big deal, because then people could just try it and see, more people can try it and see if they like it, rather than having to commit to the $60. And the thing is too, for fighting games, like of course the enthusiasts will spend the money on it, but there's always people on the fringe who are like, I'm not sure. So it being free to play is gonna be a big deal in that respect. There has been examples of free to play fighting games. I know DOA 6 had some free to play aspects. I feel like I remember hearing about a version of Tekken that also had free-to-play aspects. I want to say KI at some point had free-to-play aspects. It's very uncommon. They really want you to it's Japanese devs, right? They're committing. They want you to give them the money first, and then you get to play game. Then there's the ranked system and the queuing system. And this is another one of these like, okay, like they should be good. Honestly, they should be good, but I think this is an example of them being able to flex their expertise a little bit. So this is something that you would just like expect, but surprisingly, fighting games are not good at doing this. It's a combination of things of either the game's population drops really fast, so even though the game has a good rank system, people don't engage in it, or like the devs think it's a good rank system because they're like, oh, new players are scared of playing good players, but because of that they have like a weird ranking system. Like I think the tower in Guilty Gear is a pretty decent idea, but just having a normal rank queue of like, iron, bronze, silver, like Street Fighter 6 or something is good enough. But even Street Fighter 6 had problems, right? So I haven't had this problem, but I've heard a lot of other people have this problem of they feel like they're playing the same people all the time. Apparently it's like some glitch or bug or something where you're just playing the same people all the time. And at this point, I feel like Riot has a bunch of games and they're familiar with making ranked work. It's so funny because you think of it as such a basic system, but then you're just like, man, like the people who make fighting games are really good at making the fighting fun, but they're not so good at making like basic stuff work like this. Even in the case of Guilty Gear Strive, right? We were like, Arxis, real talk, you mastered lobbies already. Like you mastered the lobby. Look at Dragon Ball, look at BB Tag, look at Persona, look at BlazBlue, look at Exert. Like you mastered the lobby. Why did you think it wasn't good enough? Like, well, you already mastered it. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. So that, like, even though it's such a basic thing, like just showing that, hey, this is a basic thing, what are you guys doing, I think is a pretty big deal. So 5th will be dev support. So I will say for modern fighting games, they are much better about dev support than in the past. Mostly in just like communicating with the players and updating the games more often. It's still kind of rough with fighting games because for the most part, and I am in this camp, I do think you kind of got to let the game sit. So right now I'm kind of open to like new game drops, pay attention for like 3-ish months, patch, let that patch sit for like 6 to 9 months and then update, and then either do like a 2 times a year update, or I mean you can go the old school way, or even like DBFZ did this a couple times where they just had one patch for the entire year and they're like, hold that, let's truly see what happens. So the main thing I'm seeing is not specifically like communication, because right now like I think devs are pretty good at communicating with their players in fighting games. I just think Riot does it way more, so it's just like something nice. Like in some cases, I see this from Street Fighter as well. I think Street Fighter has done a really good job being very quick with addressing stuff, like the simultaneous input assistance throw OS, they address that like immediately and things like that. Where in Guilty Gear, like Arxis, they're like, we know, we're working on it. Then they won't say anything for a while, and they're like, we know, we're working on it, but they're not really saying what. So these things do matter. Like some people get mad at that, you know. So I think this is a pretty big thing. And then the last thing is content. So not me making videos. I mean, I'm gonna make videos, but actual new content in game. So not just characters, but also like new modes, new collectibles. So the meme, if you use Street Fighter as an example, the meme is that Chun-Li is going to make them $1 billion. Street Fighter 6. That was the meme in Street Fighter 5 as well. Just people are buying Chun-Li and Minot costumes. One thing that I was always shocked by, I was always surprised, is in DBFZ, they don't have alternate costumes. I am still shocked to this day. This game came out in 2018. Right now I'm recording this. It is July 9th, 2023. There are still not alternate costumes in DBFZ. That shit is crazy. There's no Badman Vegeta. There's no High School Gohan. Remember I made a video where I talked shit about Gohan? I was like, Gohan, go back to school. Where's High School Gohan outfit so I could meme? Like, there's no stages. It's Dragon Ball Z, bro. Like, I cannot believe it that Capcom gapped Bandai Namco and Arxis that much, and then Dragon Ball still sold like crazy. So that's what I mean. So content from top to bottom. So not just new characters, not just new stages, not just new tracks, but also like collectibles and then customizables. So like for example in Grand Blue, your character could have like different swords, like different versions of their weapon. It doesn't actually like do anything. It's just a cosmetic, but cosmetics are a big deal. That shit adds up, right? You're talking about Guilty Gear, there are a lot of these things, but they use like an in-game currency that's free. But a combination of using in-game currency, plus of course because the game's gonna be free to play, spending money on stuff, I think, but a good flow too, so that people have like a lot to engage with. I will say I think Capcom does an amazing job with this. I think NRS already does an amazing job with this. It's not all devs, but I think this is just another game doing this in a big way will kind of force other devs to be like, do this or die. And yeah, that's how I'm feeling about Project L right now. I think it could really shake up the fighting game community. I'm not one of those people who are like, this game is gonna save the fighting game community or anything. I think the biggest thing that this game can do, because I know a lot of other like tournament players are looking at the game as like a golden ticket, like a golden ticket to clout or something, or money or something. For me, it's really, I feel like they're good at making packages, like a good video game package, and they're going to force other devs who have been kind of chilling, because we just take because the games in the end are fun, but they don't have all the stuff, like all the things so that everybody can play. They just have stuff for like really hardcore people and enthusiasts like myself. So I feel like this game, the biggest thing it could do is just get other devs to wake up who are not catching up with the current times, and that's the big shining thing for me about this game. But let me know what you guys think. As usual, if you guys have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you guys feel like it, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.